We're at the end of July, the middle of a hot summer, and the beginning of what promises to be a crazy few weeks in the Memphis mayor's race. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to get to as part of our Sunday review of the week that just passed, and a great panel to talk about it, so let's get right to it. First up, of course, is the major announcement by the Department of Justice of a civil rights investigation into the Memphis Police Department, a move that appears to be mostly well received. What does this so-called pattern or practice investigation mean for the department and the city? We'll also talk about the state of the Memphis mayor's race, one of the better-known candidates dropping out this week as the other campaigns gear up to start spending all the money they've raised. And cash crunch. Mayor Strickland had some big plans to redo the city's sports stadiums, but now it's looking like there may not be enough money to spread around to pay for all of them. We'll get to all of that in a moment, but first let me introduce that esteemed panel I spoke of a moment ago. Otis Sanford is ABC24's political analyst. Sam Hardiman is a reporter for the Daily Memphian. And Deidre Malone is the founder and CEO of the Carter Malone Group and a political consultant. This is your busy time.
It is.
There's always something going on this time. So let's start with talking about the DOJ announcement. Otis, I'll start with you on this because you know it's hugely significant for the DOJ to make this kind of announcement. In fact, before I get to you, let's watch the just a quick snippet from both Kevin Ritz, the U.S. Attorney for West Tennessee, and Kristen Clark, who's the Civil Rights Division head.
Every American deserves fair, constitutional, non-discriminatory policing. Every American.
There is only one rule of law. There cannot be one rule of law for the powerful and another for the powerless.
So basically, Otis, what we learned is they felt in investigating the Memphis police, their preliminary look at the department, there's enough there that it's worth doing this deep dive that can take up to a couple of years and usually ends in a consent decree in which the city agrees to certain changes of policy and procedure, what have you. What are your thoughts? Would you agree with the consortium that seems to think that this is good for the city of Memphis and the police department?
I think it's healthy for the city. It's a huge development. It does not necessarily just arise from what happened to Tyree Nichols. There have been some other complaints, long-standing complaints. All you got to do is go back and remember CLERB, the civilian law enforcement. They were trying to get at information about a lot of abuses, and they were shortchanged and dismissed. So this is a long-standing thing. So yes, this is very important. It's not the first time. I was around here in the 1970s when the Justice Department was looking into the police department as well, and that led to that consent decree around spying on people and abusing people back then. So yes, this is a significant development. You're right, nothing will come out of it for at least another a year or so, but people will be talking about it, and I hope that the police department cooperates like they said they would.
No indication they won't. In fact, Police Chief C.J. Davis did issue a statement saying, I wouldn't say she's thrilled about this probably because it is going to mean a lot of extra work with all the investigating and record looking they're going to want to do. But she backed her officers, of course, as you would expect. The only soundbite or comment that I heard that seemed to be a little bit resistant to all of this was the mayor, Mayor Jim Strickland. He seemed, was vocally upset about not having been consulted more or involved more in the process before the decision was made. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the mayor didn't want this to happen very clearly, to, on his watch for Memphis to be among the cities, right? Now, Memphis is in the same conversation with Baltimore, with Louisville, right? Minneapolis, these notable killings from a city police department of a black citizen, and it's on his watch. And he wanted the voluntary investigation, the cops investigation, the other DOJ investigation that was going on to be the only investigation into the police department by the DOJ, and he's not going to get that wish. And now, if you think about it from a legal perspective, it's relatively unlikely, as this goes on, the city wants to be dismissed from the Tyree Nichols estate suit. I'm not certain how, if the Department of Justice has cause, and I can't read Judge Mark Norris's mind here, how they're going to get dismissed from that suit.
Even Ben Crump complimented Memphis and the police chief for how the city responded to this. So maybe the mayor's thinking here is, we did everything we possibly could, why us? But on the other hand, how can you be the Department of Justice and look at all the cases and where Tyree Nichols falls in that and say, why not?
Well, and the mayor needs to understand too, Darius Stewart. We remember Darius Stewart, right? So there have been several incidences.
this is not the only
It's not
thing.
the first. So I think an investigation is good because what comes out of it is you have to have reform. And if the reform is needed, then that's what's going to come out of this report. So I don't think anybody should be concerned about, this investigation. I think it's a good thing for Memphis because, like the chairman of CLERB says, a former retired police officer, James Kirkwood, he'll tell you there's some good apples in the police department and some bad ones. So maybe this will help weed out some of those bad ones.
Like every profession, right?
Exactly.
And to the point about the mayor, and I guess I could understand he's a little frosty about all of this right now, but this is not about the mayor.
It's not.
This is about citizens in Memphis. This is about good policing. By the time the report comes out, he'll be out of office anyway, and the new mayor will be having to address this. He needs to stop making it about him. And the fact that he's the only one that I saw that was grousing and complaining and saying he was disappointed, I don't think the community should really care about that, with all due respect.
Well, there's another issue that he's chaffed about while we're talking about that has to do with law enforcement, and that's this spat between him and Steve Mulroy, the Shelby County DA. This has been going on for weeks, if not months, and seemed to come to a head this week to the point that Mulroy felt compelled to have a news conference trying to set the record straight about allegations that he's soft on crime, according to the mayor, because of the revolving door that that may be an issue, but he really has taken to Steve Mulroy about this, and including a more recent case where a woman shot at a police officer near the White Station or White Haven precinct on Rains Road. What do you make of the back and forth on that? You're the political guy covering all this. What's
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't at the news conference this week, but if you look at this from afar, first, you'd be shocked that these two guys are members of the same party. First of all, they're both Democrats, but the way Strickland has gone after Mulroy, it's really almost seemed partisan, but it's not partisan. From the mayor's perspective, he was saying all the things about criminal justice he was before Steve Mulroy was elected. He was critical of the DA's office, but he wasn't using Amy Wyrick's name. Now he's using Steve Mulroy's name. And I think it is because the mayor, despite what we just talked about, he has a pretty keen political compass. And a lot more people believe him than believe Steve Mulroy's side of the story. And he's trying to shift public opinion. This is my guess. He's not said this to me. He's trying to shift public opinion and put Steve Mulroy in a little bit of a box and put him on defense. And that's what's happening here. And as he said to Lucas Finn and Julia Baker, both of the Commercial Appeal and Daily Memphian, it's just different philosophies. That's where they are. They just have fundamentally different philosophies, and the mayor's kind of going out swinging here.
Well, the voters spoke when they voted Steve Mulroy in about they're tired of the old philosophy, because Amy Wyrick did win when she went up for election the previous time, but this time they wanted to change, and they made it pretty clear.
They did, but to Sam's point, you got to remember, Jim Strickland's the former Democratic Party chair. He served on the city council for 2 terms. He's served, as mayor of this great city for 2 terms. He wants to wrap up his tenure on a positive note. Well,
that's not going.
He's not doing it.
So, I can see, he's an October 29th Scorpio. So I can see why he fights the way he fights, okay?
Well, but if he wants to end on a positive note, he needs to get another instrument, a trumpet or a saxophone or something, because he is not doing that. And picking fights, I understand the frustration with crime. But he sees that crime is going to be the big issue in this campaign, and most people think it's out of control, and that's on his watch too. And he's frustrated by that, and so he's lashing out at other people. That's the way I see it.
But notice, to your point, it was the issue when he ran the first time too.
Yeah.
Crime has always been the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what is, there are more murders under his watch than there were under AC Ward's watch. That's all I'm saying.
So if we think about this,
Less
looking
police
forward,
officers, what else?
looking forward in this election when we're going to be talking about crime. And 8 years ago, we had a change election, right, where we were talking about crime. I wasn't here yet, but Jim Strickland got elected.
Yeah.
Now we're having another one. Everyone's talking about crime. This mayor is going to fix it. Are we really sure we're not here 4 years from now and we're talking about crime again and how another mayor might fix it?
No, we're not at all. In fact, that's a great segue. Thank you, Sam. For our next segment, we're going to talk about the status of the Memphis mayor's race, including, I think, somewhat of a surprise candidate dropping out just before the deadline. We'll be right back.